Starfield's new release date might be set for Christmas 2023, and Bethesda has recently unveiled details on the dialogue and fuel systems, as well as a few other things. Let's dive in. Hello everyone! Welcome to my very first Starfield news video. To get started, I decided to focus on several matters gone public in the past days, such as rumors on the new release date and new information on how the dialogue and fuel systems will work. Now, Bethesda has also talked about Starfield's origins and inspirations. Moreover, recent leaks allow us to have an idea about Starfield's development team size and work culture. Lastly, there are new official posters you can get for free and more official channels you can access over Bethesda's Discord. Alright, let me guide you through the details. Lately, rumors have been hinting towards a new release date for Starfield. Now, the initial release was set for November 11, 2022, but that quickly changed as Bethesda confirmed the game would only release in 2023 earlier this year. However, almost 6 months later, Bethesda still didn't come forward to announce the new release date, but rumors suggest it will be on December 2023. Are the rumors true? Well, it's hard to say right now, but such rumors are based on the new data found at SteamDB. Bethesda updated the old release date from November 11, 2022 to December 29, 2023, to be precise. Lots of gaming media channels have already covered the matter, and honestly, unless someone did a huge oopsie here, the new date is probably going to be the official one. After all, the data found at SteamDB is often reliable since it comes directly from the developers and/or publishers, so don't be surprised if Bethesda announces such release date for Starfield in the near future. As for the credibility of the rumors, they are not 100% set in stone, of course, but there is a great chance they are actually the truth behind curtains, which is yet to be officially announced. For a very long time, players have been wondering how will Starfield's dialogue system look like, and the mysteries have finally been revealed in a recent interview led by community director Jazz Finster, which featured Bethesda director Todd. In this video interview, we learned that Starfield will feature a dialogue system similar to classic Bethesda titles, where characters have access to a series of dialogue options based on their custom builds. Listen up.
Yeah, look, we've done a lot of different dialogue systems. We've gone back to kind of I'll call it like a classic Bethesda style dialogue with you're looking at the character and how they emote. You have a series of choices there.
Besides dialogue lines dependent on players' choices, it seems like the system will be massive, so massive that the overall dialogue line surpasses Skyrim and Fallout 4 dialogues together. That's right, Bethesda unveiled this chart where the figures point to over 250k dialogues for Starfield alone. That's an impressive amount of dialogues right there.
The scope of the game, the amount of content we're making, is a bit more than we've done before in terms of quests and things like that, but the depth in some of this stuff with the dialogue, we just passed 250,000 lines, and so that's a lot of dialogue.
Anyhow, the dialogue complexity in Starfield allows players to use their attributes and skills to engage into a more realistic conversation. Howard used persuasion as an example.
But we've gone through it and the impact is really there. And that includes my favorite speech persuasion system.
You're not talking us out of this score.
It feels like it's part of the dialogue, but you're spending points to persuade them.
You willing to give up the ship? Just like that?
The more skilled you are, the higher is your chance to get your way around using a given type of dialogue options, and by spending the respective points too. It's like engaging into a natural and dialogue instead of entering a separate dialogue mode.
It feels natural, not like I've entered some other mode where I'm not doing regular dialogue. It's just I'm in this mode of persuading you to get what I want.
Now, there's a lot more for Bethesda to disclose here, such as how these dialogue points work and how can you renew or farm them, but so far Starfield's dialogue system is looking really similar to Fallout 4's or 76, where the higher an attribute is, the more powerful dialogues you unlock for that same attribute. Well, I guess we will get to learn more in its due time. In the same interview, Todd Howard also explained how the spaceship fuel system will work. Initially, the system was designed in a traditional way where you could run out of fuel anywhere, even in deep space. But later on, the developer team realized this rule would be too harsh. It would turn the game into a hardcore punitive system, and that's not exactly the definition of fun, right? Basically, if you ran out of fuel in the middle of space, you would get stuck and unable to progress your story. But now the system got updated, as Howard confirmed.
And so when we were playing that, and it became like very punitive to the player. Your ship would run out of fuel and the game would just stop. You just want to get back to what you're doing, so we've recently changed it where the fuel in your ship and the grav drive limits how far you could go at once, but it doesn't run out of fuel.
Well, I think that's a pretty good change. Now players can only travel as far as their fuel meter allows them. In other words, you will never run out of fuel in space since the system will simply block you / won't allow you to travel further than what you can afford, depending on your current fuel. This way, players will no longer get stuck in deep space and can always progress, even if they have very little at a time, if the fuel is on reserve or something alike. Alright, something hidden in the latest official Starfield's interview is an Easter egg directly from the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Now, the character creation system has been revealed several times now, but recently Bethesda went public with a rather curious trait called Hero Worshipped. If you take a look at the description, you quickly understand this trait relates to the same adoring fan story found in Oblivion. As for Starfield, this annoying fan will randomly show up to give you gifts and proclaim their dying adoration for you. Oh, you and only you. However, it's not yet clear if this fan will have a similar look to the previous character with blonde hair and a very questionable face. Well, at least we know what to expect regarding this one-of-a-kind trait. For years now, players have been wondering about Starfield's origins. Why did Bethesda suddenly decide to create a new sci-fi franchise universe? Going from fantasy and post-apocalyptic into space, that's a really wild jump, a leap of faith even. But now we have some concrete answers. Todd Howard recently talked about Starfield's inspirations. One of them is Sundog, a space RPG made for Apple II in 1985.
I'm going to go back in time here. Sundog is a big one. Amazing game, kind of like the science fiction game when Ultimas were out. It also had this parcelless interface, kind of one of the first games where you're moving objects around and putting them together, but great game where you had your own ship and you could explore around that I love.
Well, that's a pretty nice story, but there's more. Howard also gave a second game as inspiration for Starfield, this time Traveler, a science fiction RPG from 1977, even older than the first.
Another one, this is a kind of pen and paper role-playing game at the time where, D&D was getting popular, is this game Traveler. Traveler was a little more hard science fiction. The other thing there, it's one of the first games I programmed on the Apple II at the time. I really wanted to make a Traveler game.
Well, it seems like Howard really wanted to make a sci-fi game all along for many decades. So there's no surprise that he really went all in with his new universe. As a result of all his desires, here we are with Starfield's franchise on the way, which will hopefully set a new era for Bethesda's games. Earlier this month, Nate Purkeypile, an ex-Bethesda developer, came forward to speak about his 14 years of experience within the company. And one of the biggest revelations was about Starfield's development team. According to Purkeypile, Starfield is a much bigger project while compared to past games, and it features a massive developer team of around 500 employees. Just to give you a comparison point, the MMO Fallout 76 featured only around 200 employees. So based on these numbers, it's evident that Bethesda is investing big. They really want Starfield to succeed and become their next legendary franchise for decades to come. Talking about investing big, ex-Bethesda developer Purkeypile also disclosed that Starfield is the biggest game Bethesda has ever created, and it also requires the biggest team any Bethesda game ever did. Perhaps Microsoft's acquisition has amplified Bethesda's goals with Starfield, since everything seems to follow the motto of go big or go home. Sort of speaking, of course. Anyway, Purkeypile also explained how Starfield's development is rather different than than previous franchises, as it includes several different teams, in contrast with, for example, Fallout 3 or 4, which required only one team, or even Fallout 76, which worked based on 2 teams. But that shouldn't come as a surprise. After all, creating a new universe or franchise from scratch requires way more work and effort than a follow-up game like The Elder Scrolls or Fallout, where a lot of assets, animations, lore, and so on is already done. As for Starfield, everything had to be created from zero, from scratch. You know, from grass strands to all sorts of metal panels, as Purkeypile teased. Now, I already covered how massive Starfield's developer team currently is, but what you might not know yet is that a decent part of this team is working exclusively on planet creation, according to ex-Bethesda employee Nate Purkeypile. Very little details were provided here, but it seems like Bethesda has gone wild with the planet system. In fact, it seems they even came up with some sort of creative solution to ensure that many planets will be ready for release. It's still not clear how will this system work, but if I had to guess, developers are surely using algorithms to randomize worlds, resources, and aesthetics, of course. Otherwise, it would be pure madness if developers were coding each planet manually, one by one. That's usually done for main planets with missions, lore, and overall importance. The rest will surely become some sort of desert planets where there's nothing much besides a few resources. As for how they are created, it's surely going to be done by AI in its advanced randomness, with human supervision, of course. But this is not official data, this is just me speculating based on logic and how other games operate. Anyway, only time will tell for sure. The next news is a rather sensitive topic. I'm talking about crush culture, which basically refers to compulsory overtime and poor labor rights within the gaming developer industry. Earlier this month, Game Rant briefly talked about crush culture in Starfield's development. It's already public knowledge that Bethesda formed the largest developer team to create their biggest title to date, which is a matter of logic. All in all, a lot of manpower is required when creating a massive universe from scratch. Plus, quality and detail always come with a cost or a price. However, if you consider Starfield's release delay and the now known team figures, it all suggests that crush culture is no longer an internal issue for Bethesda. Note that the company has been exposed over time for their messy management and crush culture, especially regarding Fallout 76 launch. Even earlier this year, several ex-employees came public about it. But now, it seems like Bethesda had a shift of direction and is walking away from crush. In fact, Game Rant went as far as stating that public figures confirmed the company has moved away from crush and it is now fully mitigated. Well, I take such news with a grain of salt. I do believe there are efforts to focus more on labor rights, but it's hard to believe that overtime is no longer being used in a game development environment. Anyway, I will leave my opinions to myself here. Let's proceed. Did you know Bethesda released new Starfield official posters a few days ago? That's right, you can find the full HD versions in Bethesda's official website. The link is right below if you wish to download them for free. You need to log in first or add your birth date. As for the posters, they are definitely very colorful and the art styles differ. Some follows a more concept art style, where others are definitely based on vector art. Needless to say that such posters are ideal to fill up mobile backgrounds or vertical screens. As the last news, I selected a piece of information you might not be aware of yet. At Bethesda's official Discord server, everyone can access one single Starfield's channel, the general one as shown here. However, there are a few more set to hidden mode. They are there, but you probably can't see it yet. In order to access such channels, you just have to complete a few tasks, as this Bethesda employee explained. Basically, go to Starfield's official website, the link is also below the video, then log in and click the Join Constellation button. It's all over the site, so it's very hard to miss. That's it really, just make sure your Bethesda.net account is linked to your Discord account, or it will not work, obviously. After joining though, your Bethesda Discord should update and unlock 3 more official Starfield channels, as you can see. This way you can fully interact with other Starfield fans and stay in the loop for dev posts and first-hand answers from Bethesda. You are welcome, by the way. More and more news are coming out lately regarding Starfield, and it's only logical for Bethesda to manage small amounts of new information at a time to keep the hype alive and thriving. After all, we are talking about Bethesda's largest game to date. If you would like to share more Starfield news with me, feel free to join my Discord and post them on the Starfield channels. I'm going to be covering such news from time to time, whenever there's news, of course. As for this video, that's pretty much everything I had to share. I hope you enjoyed, and do let me know if you enjoyed this format or not really. I'm Marta Branco, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to help the channel out. And as always, a huge shout out to all my dear members and patrons. Until next time, take care, adios, bye bye!